Welcome back to The Breakfast Show this morning with me, Will Kwa. Now, our guest this morning is an expert on anger management. Now, as Mr. Dina A, a motivational speaker, he's been counseling people on how to deal with stress, anger and conflict resolution for the past 10 years. So, welcome to the show. How are you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Good, great. Okay, now, I think, first of all, anger management, you know, everybody hears this term kind of floating around a lot. But what does it actually mean when you say anger management?
Well, we've been using this word long before the movie came about.
Yeah, I imagine so.
But I like to use the word anger management instead of using the word controlling anger, which has an element of repression.
Right,
because
that's true.
Repressing it doesn't help. If you stop it one way, it comes out some other way, and eventually it might come out through your hands.
Oh dear. So when you say anger management, it doesn't mean that you, I mean, because you look like a really calm person, but you know, you're probably like the pillar of but
not really. I was a very angry person, and so
really?
That's why I got into this.
Okay, but I assume when you say anger management, it's not about never being angry, is it? It's about, if you feel angry, ways of dealing with it and kind of like...
Yes,
right?
Anger is a natural emotion, and it's ridiculous to think that you can't, that you can live without it. But the point is that unbridled anger, uncontrolled anger, that is a problem.
Right. Because we
have a simple formula.
Okay.
You have a right to be angry, but you don't have a right to hurt anyone physically or emotionally.
True, true. And so many times when people let themselves, lose themselves in the anger, they react in ways that they're going to regret afterwards.
Afterwards, yes.
That's
yes.
Right.
And understanding this psychological change that happens between being calm and being completely crazy and then being calm again, if we understand this model, then we can use this knowledge to handle the anger much better.
Right.
If I can paint an analogy, it's like a river having a dike or a dam.
Okay.
In case of a flood, it holds the water, you know?
Yeah.
And when the water rises too much, we feel it. We all know, and we usually give a warning to the other person, hey, don't keep going on this line, I'm going to get angry.
Right.
You know, like the Hulk, you know, you won't like me when you're angry.
Yes, true, yes.
So anyway, and then there's a sign, sometimes the dam wall begins to crack. Sometimes it breaks, and then the water floods over, and then later you mend the dam and bring it back.
Right.
But we have sometimes a tendency to keep allowing the dam to break too often. And eventually, with some people, they become like angerholics, you know, and then there's no dam at all. So it's free flow from being normal to being angry, but they don't understand the psychological change that takes place when they're calm and when they're angry.
Right. Okay. So before we actually get on to how to manage anger, you know, what are some of the things that people sort of, I mean, because everybody, when they feel angry, they have different reactions to, you know, how they get angry or what makes them angry. But what are some of the, you know, psychological and physiological, you know, things that you go through when you get angry?
Okay, I think everyone knows what anger is. You know, it's a natural thing. We could say when we are out of our constitution,
right,
that we are not. Everything is not calm and settled and functioning the way it should.
Right.
And actually, we become, when we lose our temper, we lose control of our thoughts, our speech, and our actions.
Right.
So the idea is that we have to figure out where this anger lies, which part of my psychic being or psychic body, and what are the different techniques that I could use to pull it back and prevent myself from jumping over the ledge. There is a, this is my opinion.
Okay.
We actually reach, you see, we're calm and we are upset.
Right. And
there's that in-between stage. That's where the problem can be solved.
Right.
That everybody knows when he's about to get angry, and when he tries to hold back for a little while, usually...
There's a count to 10 and take a deep breath.
Yes, exactly, that sort of thing. There's so many things that could be done. But if we do finally get angry, it's because we've decided to do it.
Really?
And we do it because we kind of enjoy it. Because once you're angry, there's no rules and regulations to hold you back. Then you can do anything you like. You see, you can always say sorry later when you calm down.
True, yeah. So all those little things that you just want to say at that moment, you can actually let yourself say because you're using the excuse of, oh, I lost my temper.
Exactly. It is an excuse. So we describe it in this way, that well, anger is the product of the frustration of a desire.
Wow.
It's really deep, but think about it. If somebody didn't do something the way you wanted it or when you wanted it, and therefore you react. If you didn't have that desire, you wouldn't have become angry. Now, when this person does the forbidden act, say it's your friend or your wife, she's not supposed to put the glass on the table, for example, and she's done it again. They say, how many times must I tell you? 10,000 times you keep, and then you, because of that, you become angry. It looks like a normal situation. Step 1, the person did a forbidden act. Step 2, I became angry. And therefore, I logically say, because of you, my morning is spoiled. But what we say is that step 1 is the action which wasn't according to your desire was performed. And step 3 is that you became angry and then you started screaming and shouting or being nasty. But what was step 2?
Letting yourself actually get riled up by the fact that so you could just say, never mind, take it off yourself, right? Is that what you're saying?
Something like that. But to understand it more scientifically, it's step 1 of the action was done which you didn't like. Step 2, you lost control of your mind. And step 3, you became angry.
Right.
So the ability to control the mind is something that we all have, and we could develop it.
Wow.
Like if I asked you to just meditate on this plant for a few minutes, you fix your senses there and eventually try and do something internally to still your mind so that you are now meditating or thinking about this plant.
Okay.
Now how do you do that? You see, first the senses are below the mind. They are a lower form of energy. All the information from the 5 senses goes to the mind. So then when your senses are focused on the object that you wish to think of, it is your intellect, which is another part of the psychic body, which is above the mind, and the intellect dictates to the mind and tells it where to go and what to do.
Okay.
So you're doing it quite well, I've noticed. But can you imagine if you were in a total, absolute rage right now, and I asked you to do that?
Yeah.
You'd probably be or you might be thinking, you know, I might take this flower pot and bang the person on the head. And there is a strong tendency when you're upset, it's probably the only tendency to keep on dwelling on that particular sequence of actions that aggravated you. So if you can, knowing that your mind is sandwiched between the intellect and the senses below, if you can engage your senses in something like breathing, counting to 10, and engage your intellect thinking about something higher, then you have a chance to pull yourself out of it.
Right.
One thing that you need to do is that when we are upset, our memory fails. The intellect is dependent on memory. If you can't remember what your principles are, then at the moment when you are agitated, you won't be able to act according to it. So we give a very simple formula. We have a little poster that one could...
Oh wow, okay. Let's
that
see.
one could
okay.
It's a bit, it's a little funny.
Why don't you read it out? At the top, Okay, you may be angry. It's okay. We understand. It happens to the best of us. But must you be stupid on top of that? I like that. That is actually...
Okay, and why do you have to be stupid? Because this is stupid. Read this.
Surgeon General's warning. Anger can permanently damage your relationships. Take precautions. I like that, yes.
This is the only result of words spoken in anger.
True.
It doesn't do anything productive, but it does destroy the relationship.
Yeah.
Right, and what's the last one?
If you are angry, please be intelligent. Decide now that when it next happens, you'll shut up and excuse yourself. Don't expect to make that decision after becoming angry. You'll only be cheating yourself. I think that's true, actually, because once you actually get to the state of being angry, it's impossible to, well, it's very hard
exactly,
to
and
pull
we know
yourself back down.
It's like this. We say that a problem is not a problem once you've identified it and taken all precautions. So if you know that when I'm angry, and if I allow myself to get into the anger, and I'm going to say things that are going to simply spoil my relationship with the person, and it's not going to be productive, so I should take a precaution and understand that I'm going to make this decision when I reach the brink, you know, calm, angry. When I reach the brink, I'm going to stop. This is one input to remember. I'm going to make a decision now, but don't decide then. Decide now that I will keep quiet and walk away, even if it's going to humiliate me. But it's good to be humble. Just say, I'm sorry, I'll talk to you when I'm feeling better, and I'll go away. And there's something...
well, actually, we'll get to that after the break. We've just got to go away for a quick break right now. When we come back, we'll find out the second thing that we can do. So don't go away. We'll be talking more about anger management after the break. Welcome back to The Breakfast Show with me, Wakwan. Now, I've been talking to Mr. Dina Das, an anger management counsellor. Now, he's been trying to get Malaysians to control and manage their anger for the past 10 years, is that right? Wow, that's a long time to be working with angry people. Do you ever lose your patience with do you ever people, you know, is it ever so hard to try and get people not to be angry that you get angry with them?
I don't know. I don't think our approach is about trying to get them to not be angry. That's repression.
True.
We try to get them to understand where anger lies within their body.
Okay.
I'll give you a simple example. Imagine you're right now very angry. And you've lost it, okay? And if I ask you, how are you feeling? You might say, I am angry. But that is a fundamental error. Because you can observe your mind. And you can tell me the state of your mind. Right now you can tell me that your mind is calm.
Right.
When you're upset, you can tell me my mind is upset. But when you misidentify yourself with your mind, then you're in trouble. And that's what happens when you get angry. The intellect is supposed to control the mind and direct it. But when you become angry, the mind takes over, covers over the intelligence. That's why you lose your rationality. That's why you do stupid things. And then it does whatever it wants. But because you've identified with the mind, you're in cahoots with the enemy.
Right.
You're actually cooperating with that person or that part of you that is actually destroying you. And then later when you calm down and eventually your intelligence rises back in your normal constitutional position.
And then you feel bad.
Then you start feeling bad, and then you can't understand why, and you think, I'm a bad person. And if you start judging yourself about it, it doesn't help either.
True. So would you say that anger can actually lead to, depression and stress as well, or?
Yes, it could lead to all kinds of terrible problems. The people around a person who... There's two types of people. Some people... everyone has anger. When we get angry, sometimes we control it. Maybe we practice techniques to control our anger.
Right.
But there's some people who've just become addicted to it. And amongst those who are addicted to it, like alcoholics, you'll have those who have admitted the problem and are seeking help, and those who have not admitted it and don't realize it, and then the family members suffer like anything.
Right.
Ever since the article came out about our anger management classes in the Star newspaper on the 15th, many people have been phoning up in both these categories. One category saying, I need help, I'm trying to give it up and I can't, my wife has left me 3 times and she said, this is the last time if I don't get it over,
Okay.
That's why I need help, I have to seek help. And the other type is where the family members call and say, my husband or my brother, he's addicted to anger but he doesn't know it, what can we do?
Right.
So we've created some programs. We've made an e-group on the internet.
Yeah.
Where if you send a message...
Yes, you were saying you've got a...
Yes. If you send a message to... well, this is the web address.
Okay, www.yahoogroups.com/groups/ hang on, let me just hold this up so we can have a look at this.
Yes.
Let me see if we can focus on that.
/anger management.
/anger MGT, yeah. And then, and what's the other one? You can actually send a blank email, is that right?
Yes. You send it into the group and within a few minutes it'll automatically send you back these PowerPoint presentations on anger management and conflict resolution in personal and working relationships.
Wow.
And we suggest that after understanding a little about anger, that anger sits in my mind, and if I want, I can try to control my mind. That's the beginning. If you don't, but if you misidentify with the mind, you can't begin to control it.
True.
And then on a personal basis, we are also doing this. We are having a free public talk where we will speak and present our anger management concept.
Right. So it's the first
on the first Monday of every month at the Safety Driving School, which is in front of the just opposite the Asia Jaya LRT station, behind the SO station.
Right.
And on the third Mondays of every month, we are actually going to create a little support group for meeting for people who've asked for help.
Right.
So if you're trying to give up anger and I'm trying to give it up, let's meet, let's support each other and help. And we're also trying to get some help from Alcoholics Anonymous, who are experienced in this line, to guide us.
Yeah, true. Wow. Okay, so how has the feedback been? I mean, because I know that Asia is a slightly more emotionally repressed sort of country than most other places. A lot of people, they don't really want to open up about their emotions, especially anger and the emotions that would lead to anger.
Yes.
So what's the response like to your classes and things?
The response has been good. So far I've been doing it in a smaller scale, in little groups of people that I know.
Right.
But those who have taken it have responded very well. Ever since of course it's become a little high profile since the article appeared in the Star, and many people phoned up, and after getting the PowerPoint show, there was one gentleman who was 60 years old, and he phoned me twice. He said, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Wow.
He said, I never knew that I could control my mind. Because you misidentify with the mind while you're angry, you see, and understanding this flipping of the intellect and the mind, when you calm down, then it helps you to not be judgmental on yourself and just understand, no, I have to take precautions and make sure that I don't allow this slip up to take place.
True. But I mean, a lot of people think, I'm just getting angry, it's not a big deal, but actually there's quite a lot of cases where, anger can be one of the biggest causes of things like murders and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yes, we have this article. This is from the Star on the 21st of April. It's information released by the Internal Security Ministry, and the spokesman says there had been 20 murder cases resulting from arguments that went out of control just within the first 60 days of this year. So that's one murder every 3 days.
And that's just from anger.
And don't talk about people who may have broken somebody's arm or beaten him up or emotionally abused him.
True, true.
I'd like to take this concept one step further.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Calming the anger is one thing. Don't shout, don't speak, don't do anything when you're angry. Separate yourself from the source of the disturbance, and at a quiet place punch a ball or write a nasty letter to the person and don't show it to him. There are many suggestions we give in our anger management slideshow.
Okay.
But that doesn't solve the problem, because the hurt is inside. Pain may be inside, the anger may be inside. So you have to do the other thing, which is learn how to introspect and figure out where the root of your problem is. If I'm angry with my wife and I take it out on my staff, that's really unfair.
True, because that's another problem too, isn't it? I mean, you can be angry about one thing, and then for the rest of the day, every other little thing will just really tip you off, because you've already got that...
Because you've gone into what we could call the mental platform, and you're riding on the chariot of your mind, thinking I am the mind. It's a roller coaster, because the intellect is not there. And it's very sublime, you know, the change when it comes back and it goes. But if you start looking, you'll identify when it changes.
Right.
But if you're not looking for it, you know, like they say in surgery, the eye does not see what the mind does not know.
True. Wow. So what are a few things we can actually do if we, I mean, let's say I get angry, and what can I do to try and, you know, sort of control it? Simple things.
When you're calm, when you're calm, download the PowerPoint shows that we've created, all right? And then remember, when you're angry, sit down and go through the second slideshow, which is the one that's called Conflict Resolution in Personal and Working Relationships.
Right.
And how it works is this. I can give you a preview of it here.
Okay.
Ask yourself some questions. There's more to it than this, but this is one of the... First of all, isolate the relationships involved.
Okay.
For example, if you're fighting with your wife, and she's, you know, maybe you're temporarily separated, but you have a daughter.
Okay.
Don't spoil your relationship with the daughter just because you're having trouble with your wife.
True.
Okay, and now we have to ask ourselves, is there a relationship involved? Sometimes there's no relationship involved. Like road rage is a ridiculous case. You don't know the guy, he's a stranger.
True.
We have a slogan, we say, save your energy, fight with those people who really love you. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, that's true though, yeah. But it's something easier, isn't it, just to get angry with a stranger, especially in cars, because there's no face to get angry with, is that right?
That's because it's an excuse. You haven't maintained your psychological health well enough, so it's like a pressure cooker and there's no valve, and then you keep bursting here and there, and it's very, very bad. It's a sign of many other things unresolved within your life.
Okay. So
now you have to ask yourself whether a relationship is involved. Then ask yourself, is it a working relationship, or is it a personal one, or is it both? Imagine it's your wife and you're both working in the same company. You could have a little more difficulty there. It requires a lot of maturity.
True, yeah.
Now, how do you understand whether or not the relationship is mutual?
Okay.
You have to ask yourself some questions. First, ask yourself, do I respect that person?
Okay.
Do I care for that person?
Okay.
Do I want this relationship with the person? Do I want to establish it? Do I want to continue it? Or do I want to terminate it?
Okay.
These questions have nothing to do with the issue in front of you. The details of the problem are not relevant.
Okay.
Then you ask yourself the same set of questions for the other person. Does that person respect me? Does that person care for me? Does that person want this relationship with me, to establish it, to maintain it, or to terminate it? Having established that, then you have to seek commitment from that person to the relationship. And you should be equally committed as well. And this is where the root of the problem really is. People don't communicate, and we have insecurity.
True.
Sometimes we hurt our loved one because we want to see if they get hurt, that means they care for us.
I'm sure there's a lot of couples out there who have probably never even dared to ask each other the questions on this one sheet.
They do, up till the time they get married. And then they've got no time to talk.
That's true, yes.
So we suggest you spend 1 hour once a week for a permanent meeting at a park outside your home, outside your office, say 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock every Wednesday at that park. Even if one party can't make it because of a meeting, it doesn't matter. Sit there and write a letter to him, so that time belongs to your relationship. And you should talk only about the relationship, not about any problem.
Well, it's like that joke I've always heard, like, my wife and I have a fantastic marriage. Every week we take one night off, we go out for a nice dinner, candle lit, you know, to have a nice conversation. I do it on Mondays, she does it on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
so I think you need to do the same day. That's the important thing, isn't it?
Well, together. We have to communicate, because if you don't give time to it, even if it's once a month or once a week, but it's something to look forward to, and if something troubles you, you can write it in your diary and say, okay, I'll talk to him at that time. You don't have to blast him in front of your husband or your wife.
You know, don't leave it all boiling up and then in one go, because so many, you know, sort of conflict. Oh, and remember last week you didn't do, and
Yes,
it's
20 years history comes up.
yeah, that's why.
So now only if the answer is yes to both the questions, then you have a mutual relationship.
Okay.
Then you can talk about solving the conflict.
Right.
If there's no mutual relationship, then there is no problem, in a sense. Why is this so? It is worth taking the trouble to resolve, because the fruit of that effort will be a stronger and healthier relationship.
True.
So because you want to be my friend and I want to be your friend, therefore it's worth us confronting each other to talk about the problem. But first the relationship is established. But supposing you don't give a damn whether I'm your friend or not, and I want to come and bring the thing and explain myself to you, then I'm wasting my time. So in that situation where there's no mutual relationship, then what we should do is go work on getting the pain out of your heart, talk to a friend who cares about you, and blame yourself for having built up these false expectations from that person. Because why should you expect everybody to care for you like your best friend?
True.
And then what you do, you reorganize your feelings towards that person, understanding there's no mutual relationship. Then you shouldn't let that person have the joy of seeing you upset. Just keep it inside, let it out somewhere else where you need it.
True. Wow. Okay, actually that's... It's so difficult though, isn't it, to go unless you really live by that doctrine. When you're actually at the point, you have to really try and run through that.
That's why, now I'll repeat, the whole system that we're teaching you is, first of all, understand anger just sits in my mind. Let me at least keep quiet and let me not do anything damaging to my own self-respect or to the relationship. Keep quiet. Now somewhere else, start introspecting and working out. And if you go through this slideshow while you're upset, it will calm you down. It'll separate everything and it'll help your intelligence to come back on top.
Wow.
That's what it does. And then you can separate your thoughts from your feelings, acknowledge them, and then you can write a nasty letter to the person if you want, but don't give it to him, keep it for 3 days, and don't think about it, and after 3 days you review it and take all the anger out of it, and then see what is the issue really.
Right.
So you can learn to introspect. So this is an external tool that will help you to search within, and after a while, if you keep doing it with this slideshow, after a while you'll be able to do it without, and you'll be able to observe and understand, now my mind is taking control, now my intellect is coming on top.
Wow. So, I mean, you know, everybody obviously, when they watched that movie, Anger Management.
Yes.
Did you see the film, actually?
I did when I was on a flight. You know,
yes. You know, do any of the concepts in that, the theories, really work? You know, because in that movie, I think it was, they were trying to push him so far over to try and stop a person from just getting, you know, up to that stage of getting angry in the first place.
Yes.
You know, I don't think that's really the sort of way you should approach things, is it?
I don't know. I think it's very humorous. Maybe it has some idea, but it's never been something that I do. I'm just trying to tell people, you know, something like this famous old saying, above all else to thine own self be true.
Right.
Even before you can be honest with God, you should be honest with yourself. And we teach people how to search. There is a little poem here, if I may.
Yes, do.
This would help a person to search within. We say, you go and sit down quietly, and apart from spending time with your people who are like your wife or your somebody important in your life, spend time with yourself. Sit down for half an hour once a week with a diary and write. And this helps people to open up. Most people are afraid to spend time with themselves, I found, by counseling them. They just don't want to. Only when they have a problem, then they seek somebody's help.
Right.
So this is a very beautiful poem. Don't be fooled by me, don't be fooled by the face I wear. For I wear 1,000 masks, masks that I'm afraid to take off, and none of them is me. Pretending is an art that is second nature with me, but don't be fooled. For God's sake, don't be fooled. And it goes on.
Wow.
It tells us how to take those masks down and how to be really who we are.
Wow.
And we should do that in a private,
we should, actually,
isolated place, but we should also know how to put the masks back on when we need them.
True, that's true. But I mean, a lot of people, especially, I mean, I do keep coming back to the fact that, especially in Asia, a lot of people have trouble, you know, opening. I mean, it's a cultural thing, really. You know, people don't really sort of let their, you know, it's always, oh, if I'm feeling something, I should keep it in.
Yes,
you know,
and what I did, because we're from a local Asian family, so we had difficulty also trying to open communication channels. When I began to realize that much of the problem is just that we don't talk, so small things build up. And I'm a Singaporean actually, so we grew up near the nature reserve, Macritchie. It's a very beautiful jungle area, and I used to go for walks there regularly. And then I would try to bring my father and my mother and my brother with me to go for the walk. And recently I recommended it about a year ago to a friend of mine. He said, my son is about 15 years old now. I'm afraid he's going further away from me. We don't talk much anymore. So I told him, I said, once a week, just take your son for a walk. He said, but I don't know what to talk to. He said, don't talk, just keep doing the walk thing, and eventually he'll become your friend, he'll open up to you. And after a few weeks it did.
Wow.
And later they started playing golf together.
God. gosh. So I mean, that actually, I mean, when you run your sort of...
I can put it to you this way. If you think most of us, who is your best friend? He's the guy whom you spent maybe 5 years together in the same classroom because you were together, and it's all the free time in between the periods that you are together. So therefore, your relationship grew, and you had a few knocks, but you mended it, and then it became stronger.
Right.
But here we don't make time for that. So one little knock, and that's the end of the relationship because there is no commitment to it in the first place.
Yeah.
So what we say, and if you go through the slideshow, it says, don't enter into relationships whimsically. Be sure that it's a mutual relationship, and then spend your energy maintaining it.
Right.
And there are a lot of guidelines that are in here. But
fantastic. All right. So just before we go, what's the address again?
Oh yes. The
I think it's here actually.
Oh, sorry.
Is this yes, there we go. So if you'd like to get more information, you can make sure you visit the group. It's, the group's homepage. It's www.yahoogroups.com/group/anger MGT. It's anger MGT. I don't know if we can... Anyway. And we'll put it up in the supers later on.
Public lecture, we'll be doing a free public lecture presenting this entire presentation on the first Monday of every month, starting on the 4th of July. That will be at the Safety Driving School, opposite Asia Jaya LRT station.
Okay, so that's the first Monday of every month. So when's the next one actually coming up?
On the 4th of July.
The 4th of July.
8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, and there is ample parking and all that kind of thing there, right?
Yes, because it's a driving school, so there's lots of space for parking there.
Because otherwise, I can imagine all the people going for anger management class who can't find parking, that might not be a good move.
Yes, those people, we'll recommend them to volunteer for the third Monday. Third Mondays we have a support group.
Right, okay. Right, thank you so much for coming on the show this morning. Thank you very much. All right, and don't go away just yet. We'll be back with a whole lot more from The Breakfast Show.